Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to learn the rest of our story about Esther. Remember, Esther was a Jewish girl who King Ahasuerus chose out of all the wonderful, beautiful girls in his kingdom to be his queen. But remember, her cousin Mordecai told her not to let the king know that she was one of God's chosen people, the Jews, the Israelites. Well, they got married, and Mordecai overheard some men planning to hurt the king. So he let Esther know, and they told the king, and the king was so happy with Mordecai that he wrote his name down in his special book of people who helped him. Then we learned about Haman, mean Haman, who the king gave a special job to, and he was so proud and thought he was so important that he wanted everyone to bow down to him. But Mordecai would not bow down, which made Haman mad. So Haman came up with a plan, and he took it to the king, and the king agreed. And the plan was that once a year, the people in the kingdom could take anything they wanted from the Jewish people, or they could even beat them up and hurt them. So when Mordecai heard about Haman's plan, he sent a message to Queen Esther, telling her of Haman's plan to hurt the Jews. Mordecai's message said, "You must go to the king and ask him to help your people, the Jews." Well, Esther read the message, and she sent a message back to Mordecai. And it said, "I cannot go to the king if he hasn't called for me to come and see him. The law says that anyone who goes before the king without being sent for will be put to death, unless the king holds out his golden scepter to him." Well, Mordecai read that message, and he sent another message to Esther. And he said, "Don't you think that maybe this is the reason you have become queen, so that you could save your people?" Well, Mordecai thought perhaps God had let Esther become queen to save her people, the Jews. So Esther made her decision. Even though it would be dangerous to go to King Ahasuerus when he had not called for her, she would do it anyways. She would do whatever she could to save her people. So she asked Mordecai to tell all the Jews to pray for her. And she and her servants in the palace prayed also. Esther dressed in her best clothes and went to the court where King Ahasuerus sat on his throne. When the king saw Queen Esther, he held out his golden scepter to her to show that she was welcome. The king asked, "Why have you come to see me?" Instead of asking the king right away to help her people, Queen Esther invited him to a special banquet or dinner party. She also invited Haman, the wicked man who wanted to hurt all the Jews. The night before the banquet, King Ahasuerus could not sleep. He called for one of his servants to read to him from the special book of people who helped the king. Soon the servant read about Mordecai saving the king by catching the two evil men who planned to kill the king. The king asked, "What has been done to reward the man who saved the king?" "Nothing was done," the servant answered. "Well, this must be taken care of at once," King Ahasuerus said. He called for Haman to come give him advice. "What should I do to reward a man who has served me very well?" the king asked Haman. Haman thought, "Who could the king want to reward? It must be me." Haman told the king a man would be very happy if he were allowed to ride on the king's own horse and wear the king's own robe and have one of the king's men lead the horse and cry out to all the people, "This is a man the king is very happy with." Well, the king liked this idea, and he told Haman, "Go and do all that you have said for Mordecai." Haman couldn't believe his ears. He would have to lead around and say good things about the man he disliked more than anyone else, Mordecai. But Haman knew he had to obey the king. That night, Haman went to the banquet with the king and queen. This time, when King Ahasuerus asked Queen Esther what she wanted, she told him, "I only want to save my life and the lives of my people. It has been ordered that we be killed." Who's trying to kill you and your people? The king demanded. This wicked man, Haman, Esther replied. Haman suddenly became very afraid. He had not known that Queen Esther was a Jew. The king ordered that Haman be punished and that Mordecai should take his place as the one in charge of all the princes of the land. A new law was sent to all the people of the kingdom saying that the Jews would be allowed to stand up against anyone who tried to take away what belonged to them. God's people were saved. God used Queen Esther to help save her people. How thankful she and all of God's people were to God for taking care of them. Esther was so brave, wasn't she? And God knew all along that Haman would make this evil plan to hurt his people, and he used Esther to save his people. Now, today you are going to do the back of your Bible paper. It's a little maze, and you are going to trace the path from Queen Esther to King Ahasuerus. And then you're going to color the pictures along the way. So start at Queen Esther and follow the dotted line, the path, all the way down to King Ahasuerus. And then you're going to color the pictures along the path. And it said, Queen Esther asked the king to save her people. Awesome. Now tomorrow we're going to start a story about a man who you might have heard of before. His name was Jonah. We're going to learn about Jonah. And then on Friday, I'm going to send you the link of the movie that we would have watched in class, our Bible stories about Jonah. So that'll start tomorrow. Don't forget to practice your John 3:16 verse. You can listen to that song maybe while you are doing your Bible paper. Okay, good job.